Yo, what's good, everybody? Peace and love. It's your boy Causey Calls, live from New Jupiter. We doing Conversations with Calls Part 2 today. It's been a 1-year anniversary of release party. I got a lot of new music on the way, so you already know. One love.
It's your boy Khal, rockthedub.com. Shouts out to the fam at Complex. Jersey representative, had to talk to the man Cause about the project, the past and the future. Man, look, I feel like we already done the interview before the cameras even started.
Right.
But I want to talk because it's interesting to me that when you hit me, you already hit me like, I want to talk about the project. Mm-hmm. And we're a year or some change after Release Party comes out. How are you feeling about the project now? It took some time, I'm assuming, to make it. Then you drop it. New year, new decade. How are you feeling about Release Party right now?
Oh man, I'm feeling so great. It's crazy because when I first did it and I kind of just got like back into my solo work from like collaborative work, and it, a lot of stuff happened between relationships, people I was dealing with, and I knew I just needed to make a statement. I basically made the album to give you 5 bangers to be like, you don't even have a chance to not like a song.
Word.
Every song is gonna be a banger. It's gonna be my vibe, and if you click one song, if you don't like it, you might not even like the rest of the album. If you like one song, you'll probably like the other 4 songs. And so me working so hard on it and being so busy I guess sometimes I felt like I was making up for lost time. I was just in work mode. So it wasn't until the end of the year when I was posting all that stuff about the anniversary and how it's been a year since it came out that I really was able to take in everything. Some of the pictures I posted with guys like Ren Thomas holding my CD and like OGs from out here like Bad Lungs, wearing my Fuck Stress Have a Release Party shirt, and just things like that, and just everybody that supported it. It was a feeling of gratitude, like with the new year coming in and just being able to see what I've done and really take it in for once. I just feel really proud of everything, and I think I was able to do things that I haven't done before with this project. So I'm just super proud of it.
We'll talk about that, because I know I was looking back thinking, okay, what was the time frame between Release Party and Truth Hurts? And that was like a good couple years as well. Right. Do you feel like you were in a different headspace with Release Party as opposed to Truth Hurts? Was there a big growth time in between making those projects?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people don't realize that Truth Hurts was a project I made in like 2009 that I re-released. I kind of repackaged it. Back in those times, it was crazy times. So I was working with a producer that basically things went south and he deleted everything offline.
Oh, wow.
So Truth Hurts wasn't even out there. If you know some of the things I was doing, you might could find like bits and pieces of things out there, but for the most part, you can't even find it. And I was doing mixtapes like crazy at that time. But I look at it like a blessing, because that was my green period. That's when I was like 19, 20, just starting to come into the game, and I had great ideas, and I was very talented as a lyricist, but sonically my sound wasn't down yet. So basically when I put it out there again, I basically wanted to present the best version of it, because there was a lot more songs on the original Truth Hurts. I didn't have the original cover, which was really fire and meaningful at that time, and I just don't have it, so I had to get a new cover made that kind of reminded me of that vibe. But yeah, people was hitting me thinking it was like a new project, but I just felt like the situation I was in, where I felt like I was rebranding and just kind of like just starting again in a lot of ways, that I wanted to put out the project that I was most known for before I was doing like collaborative projects with Knowledge. Because those 2 projects I did with Knowledge were hands down at that time the biggest thing either of us had done, and we got known for working together on those 2. It was an EP and an album. So I put Truth Hurts out to let people know, like, yo, I've been doing this shit, and I got songs with Elder Sensei, I got songs with guys from Forbidden Chapters, I have songs with these ideas and these kind of things that were formulating at that time that lead up to now. So yeah, I just wanted to put that back out there so people just knew, and so the project could just have a new life. So people knew it existed, so them songs that we're still really good didn't go to waste.
Right.
But as far as from that point in between release party, yeah, I think for like that first year, I was really trying to find myself. I was working with different people. Shout out to my guy Fusions. He was doing Speak Your Mind Radio at the time, a podcast that was popping off in Patterson.
Right.
And I was working with him a lot. He had a little studio in his spot. And there's a lot of other people that didn't go as well. You know, there's a lot of things that
happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trial and error. Sometimes you work with people and it ends up not really fitting. And there was a lot of that. It was a really confusing time period because I had to figure out like, okay, you know, I'm kind of stepping away from certain things and moving on to just who am I now? Like what am I trying to do? People kept telling me like, yo, you got to rebrand, you got to change up your image. And, you know, I kind of knew that I had to reinvent myself and let people know like where I'm at now, what you always do as an artist. So in the beginning, it was a lot of, you know, I did a series called Throwback Thursdays. I don't know if you was able to catch on to that.
I think I've seen some. It means there's so much going on, but I do remember seeing some of those.
I was doing a lot of, you know, freestyles over just beats from people that inspired me, like Aquemini, which is still out there. The whole project is on that Piff, but there was even things that happened with that where there was issues with the studio, so some of the songs didn't come out, or certain guest features didn't come out, or some of the songs the quality wasn't as good as it needed to be. So it was kind of like a rough period, but still a beautiful time because I was still able to transform things like the Aquemini freestyle turned into another chapter. We, you know, just got the beat sampled and remade and made a whole new song out of it with some of the ideas that was from the freestyle. So there was beautiful things that came out of it. I had a Doomsday freestyle with Lori Love sang the little Sade part on it for me. When causing
I love that.
It was so, that's another one that I'm like, I killed this. Like I let you know where I was at that time. And it was a really great project lyrically, but like I said, because of some of the quality issues and different things that was going on, it wasn't able to fully get its wings. And that's why I don't always promote it as much as my other projects, because it's kind of like something where it's like, if you fuck with me, you don't want to hear it, but I know it's not my best presentation to the world. So Release Party is kind of that. That's what some of them songs was brewing through the years. Some of them beats was back when I was working with Knowledge we had, and I had to let him know, like, do I have your blessing to use this beat? Knowledge was supposed to be on Five Flower Town.
Oh, really?
Like I said, life gets in the way, things happen. Yeah. And eventually I'm talking to Du, and we'll get into that later, but exactly. I'm talking to Du, and he's like, yo, like, we was just showing love to each other. And this when he first told me he was running for councilman. And he was like, let me know if you got, like, an open verse. And I just so happened to have.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, man, I think leading up to it, it was just like, it was the right time when I did put out Release Party to finally let people know, like, this is where I'm at now, this is what you getting, this is my vibe. But leading up to that, it was definitely a lot of trials and tribulations that I was going through and shit.
I mean, and I want you to, you know, expand on that a little bit, because you mentioned earlier about finding yourself, and you know, we had the conversation, you know, earlier before we started rolling about the idea of splitting from people that you know used to be around, or you know, really just in that process of finding yourself. But I want to know, you know, talk about, was it difficult for you to be like, I know what I've been doing, I know what my squad is, but where I'm going, I might need to detach or, you know, pull away. Talk about the process in becoming the man we're seeing today, and the man that, you know, we hear on the Release Party.
Yeah, it was very hard, man. I mean, coming in as a young man in the game, like I said, a lot of us don't really have, like, the right male role models. And, you know, we kind of look to each other like people in our own age range, and we feel like we learning from each other, and especially people that go through things in their childhood, like, we really cling to each other, and sometimes it's not even, like, that healthy space and boundaries. Like, we don't even know about that yet. Right. Things that we're mature enough to know of now, or even certain terms that they have now that wasn't out there yet with people's mental health and different things, is like, now we can have a conversation about it or understand more than just be like, this dude's an asshole, this dude's an asshole. But at that time, it was very hard because, like we spoke about earlier, the loyalty in these communities where we come from, and just in hip-hop, we feel like we got to ride with our people. But what happens when your peoples are bringing you down, or what if they're more looking out for themselves than they are for you, and you looking out for everybody? Right. but you got people around you that you feel like are not in your best interest to be around no more. And you still love them and shit. Even if you don't want to fuck with somebody, you can still love them. But being young, coming into the game, getting success with this group of people, and it's so much bigger than people realize, because at that time there was people that was around that people don't know that was behind the scenes, or people that was just coming under us. There was so many people a part of the movement, and like we were saying, everybody needs to be on the same page. Everybody needs to have everybody's best interest at heart. And you know, sometimes people grow apart, sometimes things change, sometimes things grow apart, and I think as people we have a hard time dealing with that, especially as young people. We don't always understand it. There was somebody I was talking to recently that said the advantages of being introspective. And it really is an advantage, because otherwise you just looking at, this hurts, everything's happening to me, this person's doing this and that. You have to analyze the situation, what you doing and what they doing. You have to know, like, where am I at now? Because like that meme that says, fuck with people that fit where you going, your future, whatever, not your history. Right. It's so true. Just because you're not around somebody like you was, don't mean you don't love them or you don't cherish your history. But you also got to not confuse great memories with, I need this person in my life now, like how it was.
That's the key. That's the real key right there.
Exactly. So, you know, it gets deep, man. And like I say, we take things to heart. You know, me being an empath, I took everything to heart. I didn't even know the term empath at the time. I didn't know I was absorbing people's energy. I didn't know that I can't be around certain people all day, every day. I didn't know a lot of these things that I know now, how people's energy and they perspective and mentality was affecting me, being around them all the time. It gets deep, man. So, you know, it's just like you take things to heart, it hurts. There was times where I felt like I was abandoned. Even if I moved away from shit, I felt like I didn't get the respect, because I was the one out of a lot of people that was kind of like the OG that had been doing it for a couple of years. I was a young OG, but to certain people, that's how I was looked at. And I was opening doors for a lot of people, even if it was locally. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't feel as valued as I should. I don't feel like things make sense no more. I don't think business-wise things make sense no more. I don't think certain people are focused. It was a lot. Yeah. So, in dealing with some of them friendships, like I said, we're not always able to just accept like things are different now, or we don't know how to communicate. We resist things. We want things to stay the same forever. When you're young, you don't want nothing to change up. It's hard to deal with change. So I think everybody that was involved took things personally, whether we want to say it or not. It's still all love, but it was very hard for the first couple of years. You know, it took a long time to get over things, or to realize, damn, maybe I can't trust everybody, or maybe this person's not really my friend. Maybe they was out for self. Right. Or maybe this guy is my friend, but he's so lost mentally because of things he been through that he don't even love himself. So I'm looking for people to love me the way I love them, or the way I love myself. And I had to love myself enough to take myself out of certain equations and get to a point where I could be in the right mental space and basically get to where I want to get with my career.
100%. Now, shifting into the beginnings of Release Party, I was watching a video that was on your page. You know, you were on a podcast, and you were talking about how you had the Aquemini freestyle, right, and how that actually ended up turning into another chapter. Were you already working on Release Party at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I already had, I think you're talking about the Real Point podcast.
Yes.
Those are my guys, yo. They was prevalent in Patterson for the time that they was around. They stopped doing it, but that was a really great outlet for people in the area. And I think I said it on that interview that I was like, my project is going to come out such and such. And they was like, why you don't just put it out now? And I'm like, well, I'm going to I got another chapter out that's making its rounds. Then I'm going to put out the Bloom video. And then I'm going to put out the project and then put out the other videos after that. But I wanted to have like a structure this time. Instead of coming up, you just do things however you do them. Yeah. Which sometimes you can make work, sometimes you can't. But it's always better to have a strategy. So I already had the whole idea of Release Party. And that idea even came from years ago, because the shows I was doing with my whole squad was so crazy that I thought of the term Release Party. Like, cause people would come to these events and go crazy, turn up, mosh pits, whatever. It was just like lit as fuck. But at the same time, they knew that there was a consciousness to it where people was relating to what I was saying. So that's how I basically like came up with the term release party. But even some of the songs came before release party, but I mean before another chapter. But I felt like another chapter with what I'm saying, things that I'm addressing that, like we were saying earlier, I don't even know if everybody is peeping all the little intricate things I'm saying. But obviously the hook is saying like years went by, you know, been a champ now I'm the man, still a champ now I'm the man now. It's letting you know like some of y'all know me from before, some of y'all know me from things I was doing, but I'm still here, I'm still just as good as before, I'm better than before, and this is the type of wave I'm on now.
Another thing you say in that though is am I the only one that knows good music anymore? Talk about where that line comes from, because in building with you and seeing where your mind is at, you know, it's bigger than hip hop. You know, you're taking it a lot. And what drove that particular line specifically?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked this, because I use the word layers so much, but it's so much layers to shit, man. And that a simple line like that, you might not even think it came from this, but being a real hip hop head, it came from how I realized that, okay, LL had this line and then Mace used it on, what song was that, where he goes, "Can a young man get money anymore?" And then Kanye used it on the Theraflu joint. So sometimes we have these phrases that are kind of like borrowed and passed down and changed. And I don't know, I was thinking about that line for some reason, I don't know why, and thinking how it's been passed down like that. And I was like, well, maybe I'll be the next one to use it, but I'll change it around to something that makes sense for me. And I kind of felt like that at the moment. Like, am I the only one that knows good music anymore? Maybe even saying with a little bit of frustration, like,
that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, like I got good shit. Like, y'all don't hear the shit I'm doing. So that's really where it came from, just like a flip on that whole phrase and stuff.
More like so it's not just, yo, my playlist is tighter than yours. It's really like y'all not paying attention to what's actually going on.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some of that in there, definitely.
Okay. Now, the one other thing, because I was listening to it, you know, in preparation for this, going back through the tracks and the videos, and I mean, it's definitely, you know, obviously Aquemini, Outkast. There's a lot of native tongues, you know, references throughout as well.
Yeah.
Was that the base for, you know, this, you know, this latest evolution of the cause in terms like not necessarily taking him back to what those people were doing, but, you know, getting that inspiration creatively from, you know, people like the Dungeon Family, people like the Native Tongues Unit and all that?
I would say so. I think, you know, sonically it might be different in some stuff, and obviously, you know, it's me doing what I'm doing, but I think the reason why those lines come out, and you'll see them a lot throughout my music, even if the song sounds like some whole different shit than who I'm talking about, you might hear me say some shit about somebody because I feel like I'm continuing that legacy of just great music, and these are guys that I've learned from. So yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's a Aquemini sample, but on the hook, I'm saying the Daisy Age play as a coffin.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot there.
Yeah, I just feel like these guys are my muses. Like, these people are my muses. Guys, ladies, whoever it is, these are my muses. So, you know, I feel like the spirit is always there. And I always want to let people know, like, look, whatever you think I'm doing, I'm a real student in this game. So whether you like it or not, you could trust that it's coming from a good ear, it's coming from a place of knowledge, it's coming from a cultured, artsy place. So those kind of influences, they definitely appear in a lot of my music through my words and stuff like that.
I was also wondering too, because you mentioned that in the past you mentioned that you didn't want to do, like you said, Truth Hurts. It was what, 20 some tracks, I think. It's roughly around
the
that.
The original was 20 something tracks. The one I put out, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say like around 16.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so it was a little longer.
You got 5 tracks on Release Party.
Yeah.
And when, 'cause I remember hearing it, and when I initially wrote about it for the site, the thing that stuck to me was I believe it's a different producer every track.
Yeah.
But it's very cohesive. Was it a situation where you had like a batch of 20 tracks, or like, you know, it's these 5 right here?
I always have mad songs.
Okay.
I always have so many songs. I have so many songs right now. But yeah, I just put out what I thought was needed to put out at that time. Sometimes you might work on so many songs, but it might not be their time to come out, or they might not be even finished, or whatever the case may be. When it comes to my art, I really just go with my intuition. So whatever feels right to me. I actually had the first 4 songs, and then I was like going through every beat I had, every song that I worked on, because I'm like, this is release party. This is like a big deal. This means a lot to me. Just even what the title means. So I was like, I need the right song to close off this shit. I feel like these 4 songs are great. I feel like I need one more song to call it a project. And I had the 5 Flower Town beat from my dude History, who's down with Radamiz and all them. They all in the crew, Mogul Club. Shout out to Brooklyn. Word. They all doing their thing right now. History is a guy that's super talented artist, producer, and I've known him since, really that beat is from like 2012.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I'm saying with things coming out at the right time. Like, you know, you can't force nothing. You don't want to put something out just to have something out. And I heard that beat and I was like, this is the closer of Release Party. Like, the way it ends, it's like a grand finale. I knew I wanted a bunch of people on it. I wanted to be a big collab. And the way it ends almost reminds me of kind of like, it's funny because it's the finale, but it's like, reminds me of the intro to B from Common. Like, something like that feel good. You knew you was going to hear a story. You know we was going to talk about something, like about our lives and stuff like that. But yeah, man, that beat was around for a while.
Word. And I guess, you know, now's the perfect time. You know, you talked earlier about getting DoItAll on that track, having that opening. How cool were you with him? I mean, Lords and Underground, that's major for Jersey and everything. And at the time, I was going back, I'm like, damn, he really was in like a whole, you know, councilman at large campaign for Newark at that time. What was it? Were you like cool with him on that level to be like, yo,
that's the crazy thing about it. I had first met him, I think there was an event for Ras Baraka when he was first running. And it was like Hassan Salam was there, Last Poets was there, I met them, which was crazy. And it was pretty easy for me to meet DoItAll because I just kept it 100. Like, I paid homage to him and let him know. Like, I think he knew who I was from hitting him online and stuff like that, but it was the first time I met him. Right. And then a year or 2 later, I went to his studio and I was building with him with my squad at the time, and we was just playing him music, and he was just, you know, putting us up on game, being a mentor, letting us know what we needed to know and putting the right things in our head. But after that, I think the next thing we really came together with was the 5 Flower Town record. And like I said, it was weird because it's like being a spiritual person, I pay attention to the signs. And I feel like being a creative person, you always need to try things. You need to be open to things. It's funny how little things turn into big things. So at the time, I was talking to this guy, Ice Rocks, who's a producer from New York. And he told me, yo, always pay attention to like who you meet on your journey. Check in with them, see what's going on with them. And at the same time, while you're doing that, you never know if they might have an opportunity for you. You never know what's around the corner. 100%. The first person I hit was Do. And, you know, like anybody will tell you, though, at the same time, like some people will see these tactics and try to use them and manipulate the situation. But it's like, if you into spirituality, you know, like it has to be genuine. Shit don't work like that. You might get a little far being fake, but even with you having a kind of like strategy in mind, it's still being open to the universe of whatever happens, but let me see if I hit this person if something happens. Right. And it's just weird how that happened like that, because next thing I know, while he's telling me he's running for councilman, I guess maybe he felt like I was showing so much love and always showed so much love that maybe he could do something for me. So he let me know, like, if you got an open verse on your project, let me know and I'll jump on. My shit was already being mixed. I just happened to have an open verse. And I was like, listening to the song, trying to rush and give him an answer, and I'm like, yo, he would sound dope on this. And things like that are just beyond me. That's out of my control. That's a divine spirit. That's a higher power, because I didn't know that shit was gonna happen. I had no clue. And next thing I know, he's calling me like, yo, what you think? And I'm like, bro, you did great. You killed it. Like, it's good, bro. I'm signing off on that. And I just let him know, like, look, I was naming even like obscure features that he did, but that were just so Jersey and relevant to me growing up. Like the Kilogram Jersey remix, he killed that.
Yeah.
He had a song with the Advocate where mad people was on it, Big Lou was on it too, and he's talking about Newark and he's talking about Jersey shit, and I was like, I want that, but give it to me in a way that is relevant to you now, because obviously, you know, he was rapping about working with City Hall and doing things in the community, which was beautiful. I felt like it was important for me on Release Party. And if you look at my projects, there's always like an OG on one of the songs to kind of give that cosign. And I felt like I really needed that stamp to be like, okay, everything that this kid's doing is fire, but on top of that, he has a legend, a OG, and a community activist on his song saying, yo, this kid is valid, and we made a great song together. And shout out to Sonny, who sang the hook, and Valana Denise that did some of the ad-libs on there. I really feel like that was the grand finale that Release Party needed.
Yeah, it feels like a party. I think that, you know, I think what you said about the fact that he was the type of person who, he is an OG. He is doing things in the community, because it speaks a lot to what you do as an artist in terms of, you know, you coming from, you know, this area, being in Paris and, you know, wherever, you know, the hodgepodge where you represent, people don't normally hear that, like, everyday struggle, you know, that the problems everybody has coming across that way. So it's definitely like it's a cosign, but I think it's also just like it puts a stamp on your movement and how you've been operating, especially, you know, in your changes now. I mean, like I said, it feels like a party. I was wondering, do you have a particular favorite from Release Party?
I feel like if I had to pick, now I love all the songs on Release Party.
I would hope.
Yeah, I would hope too. And you know, there's different songs. I mean, especially Feel Me is like a left fielder for the rest of the vibe of the album. So that has its own special place. But I feel like for me, with the song and the visual, if I had to pick one song that I'm most proud of and happy about, it'd be Tuesday Night. I just feel like the vibe is so great. Like, I just needed to make that song in that video. We shot it here too.
Oh, where?
Crib. I got all these old magazines and posters and put them all up here. Some of them still up here.
I was wondering where that was shot at.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then shout out to Rissa, my homegirl, that did a bunch of these. But you know, a lot of stuff got taken down. Some was just put up for like the vibe of the video, but a lot of it was things that I'm genuinely like interested in.
I thought when I was looking back, I was like, damn, was they in some type of green room or something? what club was that shot in? That's what's up.
I was just thinking to myself one day, I got the vision in my head for that particular scene, and I was like, where can I shoot this at? And I was like, I gotta do this shit in my house, because where am I gonna go that they gonna let me decorate the wall and put all this stuff up unless I find a place? But I wanted to be, that's how picky I am. Like, that's how much everything means to me. Like, I want to personally know everything that's going up. So I had everything from like D'Angelo to like Dilated Peoples to like Slick Rick. But I wanted a lot of like neo soul vibes. I wanted a lot of just this. I didn't even want it to necessarily look like it could be my room or her room. I wanted it to look like it could be either of our room or a shared room. I didn't want it to just be male.
It felt like my room back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I wanted to be like diverse enough to kind of like represent the vibe and like me and her at the same time. Like I said, this could be stuff we both listen to. Right. It's just universal music basically. But I'm so proud of that song. When I just hear it, I feel good. I love Bloom. That's another one that's really up there for me. Those, if I had to pick like my two favorites, it would probably be those two, just because I feel like in that time, as much as we were talking about like people being like, oh, you're doing something different, I'm like, I'm always doing something different. Yeah. But I feel like that was really something new for me at that time. Bloom was like me, I just wanted to make a bop. I just wanted to make a great vibe. And Tuesday Night was that with more context, more suited for me talking to a female. But I don't think I've really had that many songs like that, surprisingly, in the past, where I was really like on that tip. So I really just wanted to make it like something great for a great song, a great vibe. And when it comes to something more romantic, it could fit that mold where you could play that with your girl, or your girl could put that on with you. You feel me?
Well, I guess that probably also speaks to the fact that you have, like we were talking about earlier, your evolution and how you change and grow, not just as a person but as an artist too, which is a perfect segue into things like the We Got Love remix. Like I remember. It was very recently. It was maybe days before you were on. It was a story on Instagram, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? And you was rapping a little bit. I'm like, damn, because thinking about that in relation to Release Party, that it's not worlds apart, but it's definitely got like it's a harder, it's a more like dancey type, vibe to it. Is that the next stage of what the cause is doing? Getting into a lot more of these influences that you're getting, maybe even outside of hip hop and things like that.
So. I think always my influences have always like ranged wide. It just gets more diverse as time goes on because that's how I have fun as an artist and as a fan and a student. I just learn from listening to all genres. Obviously, I'm rooted in hip hop and soul, and that's where most of my influences are from. But music is so big that you never know what you could find from who, from where, from what genre. So I just like to keep my mind expanded. You feel me? So with that right there though, I love that song. That's like one of my favorite songs that's out right now. Word. And I love what she was talking about because I loved her album, but now this was on some different shit. This was on some like real conscious, like everything she said, enlightened shit. And I just relate a lot to that. So I just love the song. I would just constantly listen to it. Ye produced it. That's my favorite artist. And like I said, I love Teyana. So I just kept listening to it. And then on New Year's, it didn't really seem like there was nothing going on. I think I was feeling like, man, this is like a whack New Year's Eve.
So wait, so it wasn't just you? Because me and my wife was sitting home like, you know what? It's like 7 o'clock. We're like,
I think everybody had like,
yeah.
I think everybody had a super chill. Like if you was with your family, it's like that was good enough. Like nobody
100%.
was that lit on New Year's in that way.
Word.
It was family lit. You feel me? I was at home. I was just like, okay, what can I do to make this day better? Like maybe I should record something. And I'm listening to this song and I'm thinking to myself, yo, this song is like the content is so me right now. A lot of times the content to me, if I like the song, that's kind of all I'm thinking about. I don't always think so much about because it's some. Even if I would turn into a producer, as far as someone that make beats, I would have to learn a lot. Sometimes there's people like this is drill music and this is this and this is that, and I'm just like listening to it for what it is. Sometimes I can't. I don't even know what makes each genre. Especially because a lot of things are kind of like come from the other one and shit, so they have like similarities. But the content was just so beautiful and so it just made you want to live your life and do good. And I was like, I need to do something to this.
Word.
I'm like, let me see if I could find an instrumental. Nope, there was no instrumental. I'm hitting people, but it's New Year's Eve. I'm hitting people to loop it for me. Everyone's like, I don't know, I'm kind of doing this right now. And then this person's trying and maybe it's not coming out good. And finally I was like, all right, I could keep asking people to loop this shit and get no loop, or I could just loop this shit my motherfucking self. And I knew what I wanted to do. So that was the first time I really like got on my shit, looped something like you said on the blog, looped it, wrote my shit, laid it myself, mixed it myself, which I never did.
Word.
Shout out to my guy Half Centric. I had to hit him and get his approval, and he was like, "Bro, this shit sounds like for something you mixed yourself. This shit sounds on par with quality music." And I needed to hear that from an engineer and producer because I loved it, but I wanted to know it was good enough to put out because I'm used to going to studios with dudes and sitting there and mixing it with them, but they really know how to mix. Yeah. I'm just starting to learn this shit because I got my own setup now. So, I feel like that made it even more special that much was put into it. But yeah, that all came about on New Year's Eve. I brought in the new year basically making this song. And then when I got my dude Half approval and he let me know like, yo, I think it's good to go. Like, I put it out, and that's when people start fucking with it. And I'm happy with the love it's been getting so far.
Yeah, no, it's a dope one, and I think that in conjunction with the stuff you were playing for me, sounds like you're really starting to get into that pocket. And I think the obvious question I have is what's the next step? Are you thinking another EP, another album? What's the time frame you think you're working with, or is that just all up in the air right now?
I'm starting to get a grasp on it. I definitely think that I know this year I'm gonna put a project out. The length I'm not sure of yet, but I have an idea of the songs I want to put on it. Yeah, I kind of have a vision. I think within the next couple months, I'll probably have a project done and ready to put out. So I'm excited about a lot of songs. I've been working on so many songs since Release Party. So that's like the end of 2018.
Yeah.
So it's like you could imagine how many collabs and different ideas I've been putting down, and like I said, some are ready to go, some are not, but like the ones that are being finished up right now, I'm really excited about.
Damn, well, I want to be excited about them too. You got my email, no?
Right.
It's looking a little light on my end, you know. I need you to send me some things.
I got you.
And I guess finally, you know, as an artist and as a person, you know, you're definitely, you know, growing and maturing right now. But I'm wondering, after this next, are you thinking about where you want to be as not just an artist, but as a person? Like, are you thinking 5 years, 10 years down the line?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I kind of like move the way I do, is because, especially musically, you know, I feel like I make timeless music. Sean Love once said that I make ageless music. Shout out to him.
Right.
And I always make sure that the things that I make will last years and years from when they come out. Like, I don't really like to make music just necessarily for the moment. Sometimes you might have like a freestyle like We Got Love, but you never know that it's done with so much love and care that somebody might be listening to that 10 years from now.
Right.
But when it comes to the like projects, the albums, I do a really good job of making sure as best I can that it's so listenable that you can have it on repeat when it comes out, and that years down the line you could still find value in it. You could still go back and learn new things about the music. You could still find different things in the music, and you could just find it enjoyable years after it's done. And as far as like the moves that I've been making, you know, as a creative, it's hard a lot of times for us to get on that business mind state and everything that you need to get on, or even to do things you don't necessarily want to do. But the more I push myself to do it, you know, I've been learning so much over the past couple years. And so, you know, I'm really proud of all the moves I make, and I'm definitely always thinking long term, like as far as like a long standing career and a artist that could just last with people, because you don't want to be one of them artists that's here today, gone tomorrow. Nobody wants that. And it's, for me, it's more than just my pockets. It's like I want to do it like the people that I grew up listening to, that are people that I'm influenced by. You feel me? So when I make music, I have, to be honest with you, I'm my number one fan as well, and I'm also my number one critic, as is any artist. So when it goes into my music, I really judge it off how I feel. Like, if I feel like I could listen to this 60 billion times and it's still good, then yeah, it's good enough to put out, and I know there's people that's gonna feel the same way. But if I feel like, you know, it's good, but I listened to it Monday, and then when I heard it Tuesday, I didn't really feel like listening to it like that, then that might go in the vault. It might get, you know, built upon, or it might not never come out. But yeah, I just want my music to always be long lasting, and to be something you could have on repeat, and you just put you in a vibe that nobody else could give you.
I think you said it all, man. I think you said it all. I think we good.
Word.
I think we good.
Hey, well, to all the people out there, new music coming soon. I was playing my G a little bit of the new tunes.
Shit to sound fire too.
Yeah,
it sounded really good.
New shit with Big Rube coming 2020. A lot of collabs, The Eye of a Genius, Naam BJ. I'm going to forget a lot of people, Nick Wiz, but it's a lot of dope collabs coming out. So, yo, I just want to thank you for doing this.
Always. Pleasure.
I start World War III for you. Smithereens and bullets. In between, I hit it. Broadway District with a biscuit. Could've worked at Silk Mills. Now I gotta pitch it. Or answer to a midget. He don't listen when I spit it. Native tongue that's indigenous. To the land I'm from. Bonita Apple Bum. I have never seen a fatter one. Name is Matthew Hun. Known as cause around here. You could call me Mr. Kukunski, and we could let it all hang out here.